In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look here at the tropics, as well as the upcoming precipitation for the lower 48 of the United States as a whole, and even multiple cooldowns upcoming. One is a little milder, one looks a little bit more on the extreme end, as some deeper, richer cold air is more possible, obviously, as we head towards the closer to midway point of the month. So let's go ahead and dive into things. We're taking a look at these two tropical threats that we have out there right now, and one is a lot more of a threat than the other one. I'd say the other one is a more precautionary outlook here that we're getting. This is a 10% chance across the board risk of development over the next 2 and 7 days. So in theory, this one is very, very unlikely to develop. And if it does, it needs to happen in a short order of time. Although we do see energy just hanging out nearby the southeast coast of Florida and over the Bahamas for quite a while on this particular model run. The area further eastward here, this orange one, is a 0% chance of development over the next 2 days, but a whopping 50% chance over the next 7. So this one has taken a massive leap in percentages, and this indicates that there is nearly no chance of this developing in the short range, and this is much more of a long-term threat. And the model guidance is actually going to concur with that. So let's just watch it play out real quickly. We see a lot of tropical energy ongoing there just to the southeast of this orange area. And as time moves on, we start to see it move through the very eastern area of this area. Over time, that develops a little bit more. This is by time we're reaching approximately the 10th here. And as we keep going, it reaches kind of the Eastern Caribbean into Puerto Rico, and that would be around the 13th time frame. And you can tell, I know I got a lot going on here, but this one curves out to sea after hitting nearby Puerto Rico or Eastern Caribbean. This is so far out. We're talking again 11th, 12th, 13th, so 7 to 10 days out. That this one, we're seeing a lot of wobbling all from the models, where this one's, going out to sea way before the Eastern Caribbean, or it's heading this area and heading way closer to the East Coast. We're seeing some crazy variants of possibilities, and you can expect that to kind of continue here for quite a while. Now, let's go ahead and move into some of your model guidance. We're just going to kind of take a look at the upcoming pattern as a whole. First off, taking a look at the past 3 days of temperature. So this is your October so far. We have cooler temperatures along the west here. That's a negative PNA. I know I mention it in every single video. I get comments all the time about it, but people will be like, why do you mention it so much? Like, I never hear anybody else talk about it. And the reason I mention it so much is because it is an excellent indicator. And if you guys can be educated on what this is, you can almost know a lot more about what the weather will be in the central and eastern states for the days and weeks following a signal like this. It's so important. Everything starts with the west, because typically your winds are moving from west to east. So we consider the west to be upstream from the east, and the east is downstream from the west. So the east does not affect the west nearly as much as the west impacts the east. Obviously, we know that there's usually troughs and ridges and troughs, but generally this is moving from west to east in some shape or form. So again, this west coast area is very, very critical. When it's cooler here, you see things like this, the warmer air in the central states. Typically, you would even see it in the eastern states, but we do have this backdoor cold front that we've been talking about for a while that moves down from eastern Canada down the east coast. And this has been around for a day or two. This is going to be around for another day or two as well beyond today. But this won't be a long-term cool down by any means. This is going to come to an end, and we will see warmer air prevail before we see, again, a few rounds of large cool downs moving in. So let's go ahead and take a look at your upcoming storminess. Also, spoiler alert, later on we're going to go over the total snowfall for the United States, because we're getting to that time of year. We need to start talking about it. Looking at today, this afternoon, Friday the 3rd, we do see a lot of storminess generally from Oregon, California, over the Rockies and into areas like Montana. So reaching close to the northern plains. Also, areas offshore of the southeast and Gulf have a lot of energy. Let's keep going, though, because this is pretty quiet. Tomorrow, for Saturday on the 4th, we do see a low forming to the east of Colorado there. This is doing a few things. First off, behind it It does have more of a cold front type influence. There isn't a really clear defined cold front there, but we do see the cooler air really flourishing behind this thing. And there is more of a warm front structure. We can actually see this with the precipitation on screen, and that is allowing this kind of lift of warm air to take place to the east of this low. So this is the general structure that we have with this storm. And where this cold air is what we call damming, or moving down, we do see a lot of just snowfall as a result. Obviously, for these Rocky Mountains, especially in the higher elevations, it is cool enough for snowfall to be occurring. So that's why we got to go over the total snowfall. We still see stuff in the deep south and southeast here. Let's keep going towards Sunday on the 5th here, and that low that was over Colorado has gone ahead and moved up towards northern Minnesota, southern Canada area. So we get this low here. Warm front still out to the east. So again, this warmer, humid air is still pulling northward. You might also take note that a lot of this energy that was over the Gulf is now moving into the deep south and southeast states because, again, it's being pulled northward. This is the general flow here. We do have a little bit of a cold front type structure nearly where that arrow is, so we still have cooler air being pulled down. We do have a lot of snowfall here for the northern Rockies, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, cashing in on some accumulating pretty heavy snowfall for those high elevations. Keeping on, we see Monday the 6th here. That low moves out. You can't even see it on screen anymore, but there is a cold front still lingering where cooler air is able to infiltrate, especially the northern states like the north central, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes. We see more of this moisture that's been kind of just pulled into this pretty humid, pretty warm environment, which is the kind of lower Midwest, deep south, and southeast and mid-Atlantic areas. We're seeing more precipitation getting pulled northward, and also things are warming by this point early next week. Tuesday the 7th, though, this cold front is still advancing. We can tell that there is a pretty large ridge here over the west as well. So your jet stream is doing something like this. We have the warmer air really surging northward over the west coast, which, again, going back to the PNA, this is a positive one. Positive PNA, and it causes the opposite. Areas to the east are seeing cooler air moving down. So again, it's a great indicator. 9 times out of 10, it works to perfection such as this. There is exceptions, but it's a really good indicator. This precipitation is good, promising. A lot of areas within here need it, and a lot of areas are getting it. So this is overall a positive thing. Wednesday, this does cross the eastern states. So we end up with a ridge that is advancing eastward. So this is indicative of a cool down in the east that is not going to last long, and also one that is not going to dive too far to the south. So we have this cooler air around for the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast for mid next week, Wednesday the 8th. But you can anticipate that it is not going to be the big, cool down that's just going to bring fall and stay there. This is going to be a quite transient one that's just going to keep on moving for the most part. Thursday the 9th, it's already kind of moving out. We have precipitation still over the southeast. Southwest is seeing some as well, and then areas in the Midwest. But we overall have a pretty messy pattern. If you're trying to track the jet stream, it's all over the place with this jet stream. I mean, it is just bouncing around. And that's not even your northern jet. I mean, we have a lot of action. So obviously it's quite wonky. Hard to kind of break down the pattern here for this Thursday the 9th time frame. Friday the 10th, there is some clarity. We do have another, this time weaker low over Wisconsin and Michigan. Some precipitation around it, by the way. And we do still see general ridging over the west. So this is enough to cause a very small trough, even smaller than the previous small one. I mean, you want to watch these lines because they're all kind of lowering as you approach the East Coast. And we've been stuck in a pattern similar to this throughout a lot of September and October, where actually, contrary to what it typically is, your areas the closest to the East Coast are actually the coolest, and areas more over the plains and Midwest and Great Lakes here are quite a bit warmer. If you were to take it straight horizontally, the areas furthest east are likely the coolest at this point. Now, as we keep going towards Saturday, we do see this ridge generally moving eastward, or at least towards the central states. Still, the East Coast is trying to hang on to cooler air. We also see this southeast precipitation kind of sticks around. It's not that untypical for this time of year. We're coming to the end of the time of year where this should be happening, though. We do see snowfall across maybe the northern Sierra Nevada mountains, some of the Cascades, lower Cascades especially, and then throughout the northern Rockies. Again, Monday the 13th here. As we keep going, though, we see something interesting happening. we get this low that wants to form. It's pretty similar to our other one, except it's north. It's kind of like to the east of the Rockies in Wyoming, as opposed to Colorado. So it's a little further northward here than the one prior to it. Lots of snowfall over the northern Rockies. Clearly, just a lot going on here. This low is going to want to move generally in between the Hudson Bay and Great Lakes. And I know I mentioned that so much too, but that is another really, really strong indicator. So let's watch what happens. That low forms, and guys, it doesn't get any more textbook than this. You have the low here. You could tell me where the cold front and warm front is, probably any of you. So you got your cold front here, quite obviously high precipitation, and warm front here. So what we have is, again, another case where the warmer air is being funneled northward here into this warm sector of the storm. But you have really, really cold, dry air moving behind that cold front that is sweeping really quickly to kind of clean out the warmer, humid air. Meanwhile, to make matters worse and to add fuel to the whole pattern, we have warmer, milder air overall, higher pressure trending in for the West Coast, which is just going to create a wave that's going to force that colder air straight into the eastern states. So let's watch this play out. This is Friday the 17th. And watch that trough developing. It's not even developed here by this point. This is Saturday the 18th during the morning, but you have a very, very textbook ridge there and a textbook trough here. This would almost definitely bring cooler temperatures to the entire eastern half of the nation and much warmer temperatures to the entire western half of the nation in this case. Also a very high precipitation cold front that is just arriving to the east coast at the end of this model run. So this is a really, really strong signal for a big time pattern change overall. Total precipitation is still lacking. It's a little all over the place. We got some good amounts for different areas, but it's not clear cut and dry to where I can tell you what region specifically is doing good and bad here, because it's just negative and positive all over the place. And looking at the anomalies, it's pretty clear. I mean, a little bit above average for some of these areas, below average for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, below average for the South Central states, a little wetter for the Rockies and Southwest here, a little drier for the Northwest, a little wetter for the Northern Plains, but some of the Northern Plains are a little drier. Central Plains are drier, but some of the Midwest is wetter. I mean, it's just, I can go all day with all these different regions. If you are in the green, you are above average on this model run. If you are in the brown or reds, you are above or below average as far as precipitation on this model run. So that's just what it is. Now, total snowfall, as promised, through the entire model run. We see all three of the major western mountain ranges seeing accumulating snowfall. Mostly the Rockies, the northern Rockies, they're seeing really, really substantial snowfall, but also the Sierra Nevada, especially the northern Sierra Nevada and southern Cascades are getting good amounts here. Anywhere in the grays is a dusting, if anything. Probably, since we're so early in the season, you can assume that it will probably be just flakes. The sun angle, the warmer temperatures, the warmer soil and surface temperatures definitely play a role as well. You probably want to take off a few inches off of everything you're seeing on screen here because of the factors that I just provided. The blues 2 to 6 inches, so again, really going to be more like anything to maybe 4 inches. The blues, purples. I'll just do my translated version. Purples are probably closer to 3 to 6. 3 to 7 inches. And then pinks are likely in that 6 to 12 inch category as opposed to 10 to 20. We do get some of those pastels, which is maybe where you have your best chance of seeing like a foot plus, maybe on some of these mountaintop locations. Just depends. But this is for the entire next 2 weeks. So you've got multiple systems coming through. Still really exciting stuff and a really big sign of what's to come for many, many months. Now, the temperatures, again, very similar to the temperature map that we looked at, which is the previous 3 days, because the current conditions reflect that quite nicely. Above average for the central states, cooler on both coasts. This pattern, like I mentioned, will not last forever, and we actually see the warmth overtakes the east by the time we're reaching late this weekend, Sunday the 5th. Cooler temperatures for the west, negative PNA all the way, and then we see the warm temperatures as a result taking over the eastern states there. As we keep going, we get this first cool push, which again mostly impacts the northern states like the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, before the warmth semi takes over once again. Now, the troubling part is that we don't really get to see this one really break out. This is the low temperatures. The high temperatures are probably going to be more dramatic, is typically what it's going to look like. So you've only got a little bit of blues, but the trough is significant on the model run. The frames just following this one would be a lot more blue, even green, maybe even purplish blue after this. So we're really just not seeing the full sample of what this model is trying to show because of the time constraints and the time limitations. But it is a sign of these frequent cold shots of varying intensities. I would say is the theme here, with an overall warmer break even point, or like average, but cooldowns are happening here, which is different than we've been stuck in for a couple of weeks now. GFS model, I want to kind of get the differences here. Again, we warm up overall. This cooldown comes in. Here's the 7th, 8th, 9th here. A lot more expansive for the northeast corner of the nation, and a lot more intense with that cooler air by mid next week. And that lasts through the weekend. We do warm back up in the east before we get another cold shot here, 16th, 17th, 18th. And then what this model wants to show at the very, very end is a large-scale trough in the west, ridge in the east here. So very, very opposite of the European model. And out of curiosity, we're going to have a little bonus clip here. Yeah, I knew something crazy was going to be happening. I didn't even look at this before the video, but we can see right as that cooler air dives southward into the western states, look at the amount of snowfall with this major snowstorm that this model outputs. This is very far out, so take it with a grain of salt, but you've got this major, major low. And you actually, this is probably pretty unrealistic. You don't really have a substantial low, and you actually have substantial high pressure over the Colorado Rockies. But on this model, they say, hey, that doesn't matter, apparently. We still see heavy snowfall for a lot of the central northern plains and the central Rockies. Crazy, crazy stuff. Now, I would argue that with this current look, warmer air is pushing this thing eastward. I don't know what would happen next, but it's fun to speculate. It could either get rejected to the north, or it could get kind of waved, like you can imagine waves in the ocean, just kind of move eastward generally. Don't really know what would happen with it, but this is really, really cool to look at. Again, very unlikely that things look exactly like this 15, 16, 17 days out, but really a sign of the times. Just crazy stuff, guys. With all that being said, we upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.